Welcome back to Let's Just Talk, the podcast where we keep it real about the journey of acting, entertainment, and everything in between. I'm your host, Kristen McIntosh. And today, we have a really good friend of mine, a film and television entrepreneur, teacher, and some may say mentor, Andre Lamar. Andre has made waves in the industry, not just as a creative, business mind who understands what it takes to build longevity in this game. Whether you're just starting out or grinding your way to the next level, this conversation is for you. So let's just talk. Andre, welcome to the show. I always love to start the show off by asking, how did we meet, Andre?
That's a good one. How did we meet? We met through a mutual friend when I was, me and a buddy of mine were writing a short that we was producing and filming, and we needed another actress. Well, actually, a lead actress. And through that mutual friend, your name came up, and we reached out, met with you, and then we started filming. That was our initial meeting.
That was a while ago, a long while ago.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. I always love to start off the journey of this podcast by asking, how did you start your journey?
I started my journey through music. And through music, I wasn't able to let loose on stage like I wanted. I didn't have the freedom. And my producer at the time was like, you should try acting classes. I was like, why would I try acting classes? And he was like, it'll help you. Do some improv classes. I went to an acting class just to see how it was, and what I noticed was there were a lot of people in there in all walks of life. Like there were CEOs, there were owners, managers, and they were all in there just to get comfortable speaking in front of people. And that's when I realized, oh, this is what he meant. But going to the acting class, I fell in love with it. It was the first time I felt free. All that freedom I couldn't do on the music stage, it poured through in acting, and I was like, oh, this is my calling. This is what I'm called to do. My first big break, I would say, right before I started acting classes, I went to an audition and I booked it. I booked the role. It was a lead role for, I can't remember what they were called, but it was like a documentary that they were using for these colleges where they kind of showed people like parents. It was a divorced parents arguing over custody of their child, like who gets visitation rights. So it was to walk parents through that. This is what it looks like. And I was like, uh-oh. Then I started taking classes, and then I got better. Because I was like, oh.
By the way, was the name of the film I worked with him on.
That is the name of the film. I booked that film, and then I was like, I was taking classes. I got a lot better. I was like, I'm about to book a lot more. And then it was just like a 2-year drought.
Did you always know you'd take the entrepreneurial route when it comes to acting, or was it just a hobby in the beginning?
No, acting was not a hobby. Whatever I go after, if I really want to do it, I go all in. And that was like from when I did music, the sports, basketball, I go all in. So with acting, I started taking classes. I went to a theater school, started reading plays, started doing plays. I went all in. So my goal was to make it as an actor.
So we hear this a lot with the last few guests. If you haven't heard those episodes, go back and listen in. Everyone said their journey started off with the foundation of acting, which is gathering that information and gathering that knowledge on acting. Is there any specific knowledge that you've gathered in the beginning of your career that you still carry with you to this day?
I would say yes. So my first school, it was based off of technique. She kind of pushed the Stellar Adler technique, which is basically through imagination. And that stuck with me as far as I would say having a foundation. I think for any actor, try to dive into any technique, whether it's Meisner, Lee Strasberg, Stella Adler, Udo Hagen, so you could just have a foundation. And then build from there, go take your improv classes, you're on camera. But for me, that foundation stuck with me because I had a love. She taught us to have a love for theater. So from reading plays, because plays have the best stories. Even though I wanted to be a TV and film actor, plays it told a great story. The characters were bright. It was all there. So for me, I would say a foundation for anybody, and that stuck with me, is plays. Just read plays, and you will have a love for storytelling, which can transition to any medium after that.
So a lot of actors and creatives struggle with navigating in this industry, as you know, you and I both know, especially when it comes to making smart career moves. You've built a brand for yourself, Andre. just being in front of the camera or on stage or even behind the mic, what's your advice for actors who want to treat their career like a business?
Learn the business side as well. Everybody needs to understand the business aspect of it. That's like in music business, is music business, and show business, acting, show business, because that's just as important. And what I mean by that is understanding the different genres you're auditioning for and what they entail. Understanding what different casting directors like individually. It's not a blanket across the board. Understanding how residuals work, how in perpetuity works. If you understand all that, then you can make smart business decisions as far as your career. And that's just as important, because a lot of people want to organically act and do this and that. And then you'll look up and realize your account is negative because you're not paying attention to the business aspect, and it's not going hand in hand with the type of career you want and aligning with how you want your pockets to look.
So, Andre, you teach and coach a little bit, right?
Yes. So I started that back in, I think, 2017, 2018, when I set up my own self-taping setup. And I wasn't charging. I was just helping friends. We were helping one another. But through that process, I started meeting people in the industry that were doing better than me, and they were in places I wanted to be, and I started to learn from them. And
Which is important.
Yes, it is. and I was taking tidbits, and then I started to catch up with them, and I started to understand how acting works, and along with my classes. So that led me to start my own taping and coaching service, because I wanted to give back all the knowledge I have, and that includes the business as well, because I want everybody to succeed. There's no competition. Like, even if the likeness of the next actor, what's for them is for them, and what's for me is for me. And I don't think even if we're battling for that role, it's gonna go to whoever it's for.
What I've learned too is if you're actively filming or taping with someone that's booking, that could also help your career, and vice versa. If you're actively working with actors, that keeps you fresh and in the game and understanding the trends in auditions as well. So I think it works for both ends. Right?
It does. That's why they say the rule: if you're on set, like if you're not on set, be in classes. That's kind of what they say. So that way you can just stay sharp. But yes, there is a lot of formulaic systems to acting, especially TV and film. But if you're around people that book and you're auditioning with them, you like picking up on it without even knowing. Like you're intuitively doing something, and you might not know exactly what you're doing, but you understand the concept. So that is right. It's very important.
What mistakes do you see actors make when it comes to the business or just in terms of career growth? Because I can tell you one off the bat that I see all the time, but I'll let you go first.
I think the most important mistake not most important, but the biggest mistake that actors make is thinking they're going to book everything they audition for, or putting everything on an audition that they did, because that shouldn't be what satisfies you, because you have no control. It could be the best audition in the world, and if you don't fit what casting sees fit that the producers wanted, or what the producers want, that's out of your hands. Or maybe you're too tall, too short. It's so much in the background that you can't control. So I think that's the biggest mistake actors make. They do all this training and it's like, oh, I'm gonna start dominating, but it doesn't work like that. Build some relationships, and then step your way in the door, and then that way you're prepared.
I'd say mine kind of feeds into that too. Something that I've seen early on in my career, and something that I was guilty of in the beginning, not anymore, obviously, is not understanding just how the business works while still holding down a 9-to-5. I thought if I got an agent, then I can leave my 9-to-5, which is absolutely dumb. You can't, like you said, you can't control when you book. You can't control the industry. You can't control the outcome. So, that's actually going to lead into another episode that I'm going to have, is about just actors balancing flexibility along with the career. Don't leave your job. Don't leave your job. Make it a priority, not a hobby, but just don't leave your job. And I see actors do that so much, thinking that if I can have more free time, I'll be able to book more. That's not the case.
It can work both ways. Yes.
How so?
I would say yes, you can leave your job if you're going to treat acting like the 9-to-5. So that means just because you're free, don't mean you sit around all day. So let's say if a guy wants a job, but he don't have one, but 9-to-5 every day, he's filling out applications, he's updating his resume, or he or she. So if you're an actor, that means treat it like a 9 to 5. I'm in classes, or from 9 to 10, I'm doing scene study. From 10 to 12, I'm doing improv. So you have to treat it like that.
Yeah, but where's the money?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm gonna get to. I'm saying if you decide to leave your job.
Okay.
I honestly believe this career is faith driven, and if you were to leave your job, that has to be a calling. It has to be something spoken to you, and you say, "Hey, leave." But I think too many people do things that they want to do, which is the free will of it, and that's where you fall into the trap. So if something within you, spirit, you say, "Leave your 9 to 5." That might be a calling. That's why you see some people move to LA or something and become a serious regular of this, because
some people still move back.
Yeah, but that's why I say it's a calling. Some people choose to move. That's the difference. I say if you have a calling to move, do that, but don't choose because you're like, oh, it's gonna be, the grass is gonna be greener. I think it's a calling within you. If you feel that, then do it. But don't just do it because you're like, you know what, I'm gonna quit and it's gonna be this. Because that's all you. That's not, for me, that's not the spirit telling you. So I think it can work both ways, but I think a lot of people just do it because that's their decision. They like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, but see,
and that's where you fall into trouble.
The thing is, I don't want people to think that automatically they're gonna be making bukus of money.
No.
You know, because you're gonna probably be booking a lot of co-stars, you know, while you're still trying to pay the bills. Yeah. So, you know, some people do pick up and leave and go to LA, but some people still come back because the struggle is too real.
But you have to, I think, understand how to structure your life. Like you can't want to live a luxury life and chase your dream and try to balance both. Unless you want to keep the 9 to 5, you can do both. But you can't say I want to still take 3 trips a year, but still trying to be an actor full time. Because that's, well, I can say full time because you might make money, but struggling your way through it. Because they say acting, people say you should struggle. That's not true. You shouldn't struggle in anything. That's just something that you were taught. Really, you got to be able to manage it. So, like,
I think times have changed. I don't think actors truly who learn how to manage a flexible schedule are struggling.
Yes, because for me, I put it in perspective. When I went all in and Chase, I downgraded a lot. Like my car, I owned my car. I lived in the apartment, and it was kind of, it was a cheap apartment, cheaper. I cut down on the bills. Just I had the necessity that I need in order to live for that time being, because that was me sacrificing to get where I wanted to get to. But that was what I wanted to do, and that's what I chose to do because I understood, like, okay, this is how I have to live right now. I got the necessities. I got what I need. I had to just take away some of my wants, and I was able to do that for a while. So I think that's the balance. But you got too many people who still want to live that everyday life, follow their friends, do this, take all these trips, and still chase the dream. But that's why I say that's where the 9 to 5 come in.
Those people are the ones that are the hobby actors. The ones that want it for, you know, the publicity more so than the craft.
Yeah, and I will say this is some truth in acting. Co-star roles is really the fill-in. So if you're a grocery store worker, you're not going to win an Oscar. Your job is to be a grocery store worker and say a line.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just a look. Do they look like a grocery store worker? So you'll have people that, we could say, move to LA or Atlanta, book a co-star role off rip, not understanding, you don't know why you got that. And then all of a sudden, they like, I'm going all in. And those can be hobby actors because they look at the glamorous life, not understanding that you got that role. So that's having my first role. I got that role because I was an African-American. It's an African-American family. And I looked like a young African-American dad. And when I was at the audition, I remember seeing it was a bunch of other nationalities there. But when I booked it, I was like, oh, I'm good. But then in hindsight, once I started understanding the business more, I was like, oh, that's one of the reasons I got that role, because I was not a strong actor. All I did was got the paper and read what the paper said. So if the words, he sounded mad, I was mad. If he sounded happy, I was happy. So it's like there was no layers. So I realized that's the reason I got the role. And I think some people do that with co-stars and think their life is going to take off, but not understanding, like, no.
The process.
There's a reason you probably got that role, and you don't really sink your teeth in the co-star. You really just say your line and keep it moving. And
that's just the beginning.
Yeah, that's just the beginning.
That's something on your resume, honestly.
Yes.
It's just something that you put on your resume. It shows that you're a professional. You may understand a little bit about the game.
Yes.
But now it's time to work. Like, that's not the end-all, be-all role. That is, all right, I'm going to say a couple lines. I'm going to see how it feels to be on set. I'm going to see how it feels to get paid and what I should look out for. Or maybe use it for pitching purposes, you know, if you would like to get better representation or representation at all. Because co-star roles, I mean, people usually submit themselves for them sometimes. It might be hard to get if you don't know the technique, but it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning.
It is, and also anybody that book them needs to know that you're very fortunate because you still beat out a lot of people.
Yeah.
So don't take it for granted. It is a resume builder, but you got to advance from that. Just because you have 20 co-stars, don't mean you could be a guest star because co-stars are just saying a line.
Yeah.
To an extent, but a guest star means you're somewhat helping drive the story, even though it's somebody else's story.
Yeah.
But you need a little bit more layers to that, and that's where the training comes in.
And everybody's resume has it. Everyone
Yes.
has started on a co-star. Everyone has, locked down at least 1, 2, or 3, maybe even 10. But there's a lot of co-star roles that are floating out here, especially in the Southeast.
Exactly.
So, speaking of co-star roles, I do want to be able to talk to people that have no experience on their resume as well. And I think what I want to ask you is to share one of the best ways that a person can secure a co-star role to possibly secure representation afterwards here in the Southeast specifically.
It depends on the agent because there are tiers, and there are some agents who are looking for experienced actors, and there's some agents who will give talents a shot. The biggest thing is to get in classes, and when you get in classes, you're going to network with people who are shooting their own stuff. And then, of course, here we have SCAD. You have other student films. You can create your own stuff. So that's kind of how you can get your foot in the door with an agent, because the agents that's going to give you a chance, as long as they can see you're working on your resume, you're got some headshots that they could possibly use, because they probably once you get on, they're probably going to say these are the type of headshots you need.
Yeah.
But as long as they can see that you're serious and got some footage, even if the footage is not the best, they can see you're trying. So that way they can use that as leverage to at least get you an audition. And then when you get an audition, if you book it, then you can get some more footage. So that's the biggest thing. Just start, even if you don't start in a class, just friends that's out doing it, that maybe have improv night, so you can get an understanding, and then eventually get in class. But you do need to get some type of footage, even if you're not getting paid, so you can just still start building your resume up. And I did a little bit of background work in the beginning. I wouldn't necessarily say you have to do it, but if you just want to see how everything works, so you can get there and you can get to see the actors, they watch them do their thing, and then not how you interact, but how you just move in the background, and then see how they interact around you, just to get that understanding. I would say go for that, because background roles that's kind of a look, and that's easier to get. You just submit to certain casters, and they're like, "Oh, come on in."
Just a picture, and that's it.
Yeah, but at least you'll get a first-hand look at what it takes and what the big-time actors are doing.
So basically what it all boils down to is networking.
At the end of the day, yeah.
Yeah.
Networking trumps a lot of things. It don't trump classes, because once you get the opportunity.
Right way, though, to network?
Organically. No, just because you follow a casting director, don't hop in their DMs like, hey, this, hey, that. It's like if you see them somewhere, just say hello. If you go to a conference, say hello. Hi, my name is such and such. I hope to work with you one day, and keep it moving. Don't force the conversation. Just organically, every time you see them, they'll start to remember you. But it takes time. I think people want that immediate gratification. Like, oh, I seen this casting director at this place, and I'm going to talk to them for an hour and think that that's it ought to be all. No, you see them over time. You keep building. They start to see you. And then as they call you in, I'll say the biggest way to build a reputation or a relationship is when they do start calling you in. Keep turning in good work every single time.
Consistent.
Yeah, even if they don't pick you, because it's out of their hands. For all you know, they could be submitting you up and you don't get picked. But if you keep doing that, they're going to keep calling you in and keep calling you in. And that's probably the best way to build a relationship. But outside of being out and about and maybe coming across them, they'll remember you that way too.
Okay, Dre, mindset is everything.
Yes.
In this business. I almost thought your T-shirt said mindset. What does it say? Right vibes?
Yeah, it's my company, Right Vibes.
Right vibes. Yes. Yeah. Right vibes and mindset is everything in this business.
Yes.
Rejection, uncertainty, it's all a part of the journey. How do you keep yourself motivated and push through challenges?
I keep it simple. I think every no is one step closer to a yes. And mindset is very important, because certain agents want people that they enjoy to talk to. They don't want the pity party, because we all understand there's a lot of rejection, but they want people that can stay positive. And just understanding when you audition, if you look at the audition as an opportunity, even if you don't book it, it's like you have an opportunity that a lot of people don't have. it's hard, even though it's a lot of people with agents, it's a lot of people without, and it's hard to get agent. Just so once you're in the game, you're in the game. So I would say just keeping that positive attitude. For me, what I do back to classes. When I'm in classes, I get to work. I get to showcase my talent, and we're having fun. And I'm not gonna lie, between that and teaching is more fun than me than the actual booking. Even though I want to book, but it's like that's the enjoyable part because it's like
journey,
yeah, it's
right?
a journey because I have so much fun with them people.
Yeah.
So when I book, it's cool, but also when you book, you're on a set full of strangers. You get to do your thing, but they don't know you, you don't know them. So it's like, even though you're there having fun and doing your thing, the people you're in class with, like those are your comrades. Y'all know each other. Y'all see each other every
Your
week.
community.
And that's fun. And then for me, giving back. So when I coach or take people to see their journey to, after we talk, to put their, how they see the character they're portraying, put it on screen and see the story being told, that brings me a lot of joy because it's like, okay, we just did that.
So, honestly, I do want to point out that it does feel really good in the in between.
Yes.
When you're either being pinned, you're uncertain that you'll be called back for a role, or you're in that waiting room waiting to be called back to, redo that audition again because they like something about you. I like that. I like being able to call you up, Dre, and let you know what I booked and vice versa. And community is important for that. And it pushes you too along the way. Was there ever a moment that you thought about quitting?
Before I answer that, I do want to circle back real quick about keeping that joy. The in-between, if you don't enjoy the in-between, you need to step back and see why. Because if all your focus is on the bookings and meeting this casting director and et cetera, you need to see, okay, why? Because then you might be pursuing it for the wrong reason. So that's important because you got to enjoy the journey. That's for anything. Otherwise, you might be in the wrong field. you should enjoy it. Whatever you do. I believe in life. You should enjoy every aspect of it.
Every step.
It'll be hard, but it's beautifully hard. You're like, I love this. All right. So now let's circle back to the question. You gotta ask it one more time. What was it?
That active memory.
Yeah.
Was there ever a moment or a time that you thought about quitting?
Fake quitting. Yes.
Fake quitting? What's fake quitting?
Because I always hear actors say, right when I was about to quit, I got that big role.
Oh my gosh.
So I'd be like, you know what? I'm about to quit. But I never honestly wanted to quit. I got down like if I didn't get a role or something that I really wanted, only because I thought I fit it. But as far as quitting, the reason I say no, because like I said, for me, this is a spiritual journey. So every time I ask for a sign, a residual check might show up, a veil check might show up, or somebody reach out like, hey, I got this project. And I'm like, okay, that's a sign to just keep going. So no, I can't, outside of the fake quitting, I can't say I ever actually thought about walking away because, quick story. When I did the music, and like I said, I couldn't really be myself on stage. There was a lot of blocks. Like I auditioned, I would say that for American Idol, for making the band, the original, when they had Dialine in it. I auditioned when they did Take 26. And then even when he did Making His Band, I auditioned for that. And I did America's Got Talent when it first came to America. They had auditions when I lived in Florida. So I was trying, but I was hitting all these roadblocks that's saying you shouldn't do it, and I didn't comprehend it. Not understanding that wasn't my path. So for acting, I'm not hitting any of those roadblocks. Like there's things I don't get booking wise, but as far as the journey, it's been pretty, I ain't gonna say easy, but it's been, things just keep popping up for me. Like I'm continuously working, doing something one way or another. Even though it's not that big, serious, regular booking, I'm still doing something in the industry that keeps me going.
Right.
So that's why I can't say I have ever thought about quitting because I keep getting so many signs to keep going. But when I was doing the music and when I was doing basketball, I had signs that were telling me to stop, but I didn't see it and I didn't understand it at that time.
I don't see any sign here on your IMDb that you're quitting anytime soon, okay? I see over 43 credits, 4 pending, and my favorite of yours is The Resident. And then also, which one are you recently recurring in? Chicago Fire.
Yes.
You want to tell me a little bit about these bookings? Because I don't want to be the one to tell.
Oh. Yeah, so The Resident, that was pretty cool. That was a couple of agencies ago, but it was my second major booking with them, and the resident that was a pretty cool one. That was just, and it was the quickest. So to get paid that much to only be on set for like 2-3 hours, that was really a co-star. And I was thinking I could have got brought back, but I didn't know that was the final season, so they didn't get renewed after that. Chicago Fire is an interesting story. Chicago Fire came out of my Chicago agent, and I had to be a local hire. So when I joined them, it was like, you're going to be local hire for things. I'm like, okay, cool. I got Chicago Fire.
Is this the one where you had to jump on the plane like within hours?
Yeah, no, that's a different one.
Which one was that one?
That's Law and Order.
Oh my God, tell us about them all.
So Chicago Fire, I think I originally had 2 days, even though it's recurring, 2 or 4 days, whichever it was going to be shot within that same week. And what happened, they sent the memo deal, I signed it, but the night before I got a new memo deal, and the price changed and everything else changed. I was like, what's going on? They extended it for 3 weeks. And the thing about it is I took a chance. I knew when I looked at it, I was like, all right, I got 2 days. All right, I can do my fitting fee. That'll cover my plane ticket. I'll just pay that back. And then I'll at least make a little bit of money when I go work that day or two, and then get my plane ride back, and I'll probably make half. So I looked at it like that. But then the chance I took turned into 3 weeks, which then was like, okay, I didn't even have to worry about it. Like, so the fitting took care of everything. Then I got 3 weeks worth of pay. So that's what made that pretty cool. And when I was there, they were very, I saw how professional the people were and how they interacted. The biggest thing I noticed was when we get together and do a little read-through. I ain't gonna say a little read-through. We do a read-through, and it was almost like theater. They would look around and see things like, okay, I flipped this table. All right, I'm gonna move here. And we do that a couple of times, and then we shoot. But it was just to see their mindset and how serious and how quick they locked in. And then we just roll. And then also, I've never been on a set where things exploded, and you have to make sure you was hiding,
do your own stunts?
And then do your own stunts and jump on things. So that was pretty cool. The one you were referring to is Law and Order. So Law and Order got cut. My scene got cut, but they were nice enough to tell my manager.
Okay.
But what happened with Law and Order? I think I auditioned on Monday. Yeah, or Friday. But Monday or Tuesday was a veil check. Wednesday they wanted me there, but I was able to talk them into Thursday because I was a local hire too. But I had to, but I was like, I was shooting something
local
else.
hire for New York.
Yeah,
but you live in Atlanta, so that's
yeah.
one of those ones you had to commute for.
Yeah, but I was shooting something else. But local hire, I will say that it means you need to get there. If you say you're a local hire, you need to get there. But like I said, with me, I was shooting something because the Wednesday was the fitting. I wasn't shooting until Friday, so I got there Thursday morning. Oh no, so I found out I booked it Wednesday night. Wednesday during the morning, they wanted me to fit in that night, but I was like, I can't. I'm shooting something because they thinking I'm in New York. So I had to get a flight that night, and then I booked the flight that night. I flew out Thursday morning early. As soon as I got off the plane, I went straight to my COVID testing, and then right from the COVID testing, I went straight to my fitting, and then straight from my fitting, then I was just walking around New York until my fraternity brothers got off work. That's what I was staying with. And I went to see a movie. I forgot what movie it was. It was some Marvel movie. But then Friday I shot. It was an all-day shoot, and then I flew out Saturday. But it was that quick. So that's one thing we say you're a local hire, but that was really quick. So within that whole week, I booked, had to get there, and then come back. But that was, for me, I would say I broke even for that, but it's Law and Order, it's Dick Wolf. And that was the second Dick Wolf show, because Chicago Fire is Dick Wolf. But that's why Law and Order is not on my IMDb. And also, there's a bunch of other things not on my IMDb, because also, everybody, for some reason, early on wasn't using IMDb. I have over 100 credits. I would say that much.
Really?
And that's between, but some things you won't see. Commercials and theater is not going to be on there, but between film, TV, commercials, and theater, 100 plus credits.
How long? How many years have you been acting?
This
Because I just met you in 2017, 18.
Yes, that's when we was about to shoot. 2014, so going into my 11th year. Yeah. So, and I hit the ground running at the school I was at, the theater school. I met we was like a community. We would go out to eat after class. And that's how I learned it. Talking to them, I learned about the different agencies.
Was that the school that I
company,
met you at, the company acting studio?
But yes, but I think you met me when they switched locations.
Okay.
We was originally off Amsterdam. I think that's Midtown.
No, I wasn't at that location.
Yeah, she had it was the top floor, but it was big. They had like a miniature theater in there. We had like 3 rooms. We had a taping room. They had their own offices. That's before we moved over to
The,
Buford Highway.
Yeah, that's the one I
Yeah,
keep
and I think
on.
Doerville.
Before we move on, because I have another question for you
Yes.
regarding faith, because I see you bring up faith a lot, and I
Yes.
love anyone that has that faith-based mindset when it comes to acting. But you have to tell me about First Wives Club. Love that show. Love seeing what you stood for.
Oh,
Love
yeah.
seeing you just get out your monologue and just do what you got to do and get out the way.
So the First Wives Club was interesting. That was my first booking with that agent before I booked The Resident. And I was freshly out of Mornell Studios. And she would always teach us how to be professional. And it was an Army vet, so she taught us how to come in and speak. And that's when I first started understanding formulaic. And I remember being there, and I was with some other co-stars, and we would talk, then they'd say action, and they'd fumble their lines. And I was like, oh. But even though you can't do it, but I just remember Sarah was like, always be ready, always be ready. So I would be there, I was up there, and then when they was about to do the action, I'm already pantomiming, like I'm talking, because I knew that the camera could start. It's catching things before you speak. So then, once they said it, then I start my line. And I remember all that. And I think the director noticed because he gave me extra scenes, which made the final cut, but it was, and we stayed over and got overtime. But I'm guessing that's why he probably pointed it out. So that's one thing I always remember. So that's why First Wives Club was important to me, because that was my first, I ain't gonna say first national booking, because reenactment shows are national too, but for me, that was my first, I can't even say speaking role, but it was something that was like on a network, and I got to speak and be seen. And for what happened that day to happen and how it went down, that was probably the most special to me, because that was like the first one for me. And I knew it was going to come. If we go back to spirituality, like faith, I knew it was coming. I just don't know when. Just like right now, I know something big is coming because I can see by the auditions I'm getting, the responses I'm getting. I don't know when it's coming, but I know everything is lining up. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be something that I know is going to put me in different territories.
Yeah. You had a pretty busy year last year, though, Dre.
I did.
Yeah. So, which one?
I do want to say real quick, when you said the busy year, when people kept saying it was slow, that's one thing, go back to manifestation and spirituality. I never once said it was slow.
Yeah.
So I was getting auditions, and it's like I was working. I probably wasn't working and seeing you see me on all the TV shows, but I was doing a lot of independent work. I was on some shows. Like, it was pretty consistent. I always pride myself. Like, I work like at least every other week.
Yeah.
I'm doing something.
Yeah. You just was talking to me about that before we went on air.
Yeah.
Just making sure to fill the time in between, especially with credible work.
Yes.
If it's not your own, just making sure you're working on a project that will be beneficial to your growth, or the type of footage that you'd like to, put on your accolade.
Yes.
So, which one was your favorite?
Filming.
I think filming, yeah.
Out of everything, I'm gonna say Glorious. That was a movie I did.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And I felt like that character fit you so well.
No, I agree with you. And the biggest thing about Glorious, they didn't tell us who was in it. So when I booked it, I found out I was opposite Ryan Quantine, who's one of the stars on Blue Bloods, and he works a lot. And then opposite J.K. Simmons. So that was the biggest thing. J.K. Simmons played the entity. And going with what you're saying, I did fit it. So when I auditioned for it, it's supposed to be this tough guy. And I wouldn't say I played tough, because I was already tall. I just went in there and kind of did my thing. And when I got there,
Showed up. He just showed
yeah,
up.
they told me that's why I booked it. Like, sometimes you never know, but they said that's why we booked you, because you didn't play tough. You was just this big tough guy that was there doing his job. And that's my favorite one, only because it also elevated me. I thought I was a good actor, but when I was in the scene with Ryan, that's the first time I realized I was acting. Because it's like, I feel grounded, but just seeing him talk and being in the scene and looking at him, it felt so real that I was like, and when I spoke, I was like, I'm acting. And it pushed me. Like, I did a good job, but it did push me to go even deeper and get even better at my craft, and which I needed that. Even though I did a great job, but it was just the realization that I think I needed that experience. But Glorious was my favorite. I think I did 4 days on Glorious. I had to go to, I think it was Mississippi. I can't remember. It was so long ago, but the movie took like over a year to come out. But that was probably my favorite moment. And speaking with him, like I will say this, he was in one of my favorite movies, which is Dead Silence, about the puppet that came to life because they killed the puppet master lady, and she was using puppets to get back at the family. And I didn't recognize him, so I was there talking to this guy. I was like, "How'd you get this?" He was just, "Oh, one of my friends. Oh, this is part of my project, and we put it together. We want to put it out." And I was like, "Where are you from?" He's like, "Oh, Australia," because he's like, "Yeah, Australia." And I was like, "How'd you get here?" He's like, "I had a film, and then I moved to LA, and then it did well, and I stayed, and then I've just been working." Talking to this guy like he's just I didn't, because I didn't realize it was him because of all the, because they didn't give us the names. So even when I met him, I still didn't have his name. And I didn't realize that until right before we wrapped the last day. Then I told him, I was like, "Man, I didn't even realize it's you." I was like, "You're one of my favorite actors. You're in one of my favorite movies." And we talked. But one thing I noticed was he has an accent, a strong Australian accent.
Really?
Yes. But the funny thing is, once they say action, the American came right on. I was looking like, that's like one of the first times ever seen that. Because that goes like the British actors where they get the accent and then they start talking as super American. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that I noticed about him and just how he was able to transition. And that goes back to when I realized I was acting, because everything he did was like so normal. And even talking to him, I was like, "You watch the TV while you're here?" This was before I still knew he was Ryan. He was like, "No, I'm just reading a lot of books, going on walks." And in hindsight, I was realizing, oh, he was keeping himself in character, not being influenced by the outside world. That's why
I do that when I'm studying.
That's why he was just reading books the whole time he was there, because they were there for 3 or 4 weeks, and I came, like I said, 2 weeks, 1 week, and then I came back on and came back another week. So I realized that's what he was doing. He was keeping himself within character, but he was still talking. He wasn't like over the top, like doing any crazy things, but it was just the fact that I'm gonna cut out certain things so I can stay in this moment. So
Yeah.
it was my favorite, and I learned a lot.
My first body of work, obviously I didn't have anything to reference to, and obviously in this industry, a lot goes into training, but then sometimes when you get there and you're in it, sometimes you learn some things too. And I actually feel like I had to cut out the outside world. I had to cut out, my phone was on Do Not Disturb for 2 weeks. I had to cut out TV.
Yes.
I had to cut out, partying, any type of outside activity aside from studying, because I just felt like I needed to learn this script inside out. And it's a good thing that I did, because like a week before filming, the script changed. Yes. And I feel like if you're not tapped into the script that you got originally, and you go into those revision weeks, oh my goodness, you could definitely be in front of the camera drawing a blank.
That is very true. You have to know yourself. You have to know the sleep you need. You need to know how you need to prepare, what you need to cut out. But that's knowing yourself. That's why everybody's different when it comes to acting.
It's discipline.
Yeah. So that's one thing you have to know about yourself. But no, that is true, and that's where training comes in. Like the ability to be on set, because you could be good, but the training is like your utility belt. It's a skill set. Like that's why you got really talented.
It's a muscle too.
Yeah, that's why you got really athletic people in the NBA. But the skill set of what they have separates them from like superstar to all-star level, things like that, because that's why when you're on set and they do the revision, you don't panic. You're like, okay, I got this.
Yeah.
But if you're not prepped for that and you don't understand how, then you're gonna freeze up and be on camera or out there just fumbling your lines. And at the end of the day, yes, we say they understand, but they don't, because they're losing money. When they hire you, they're hiring you because they expect you to have a skill set. You can come in there, we can give you new lines, you're going to get it. We know you're going to get your lines clean. We know you understand where to move. That's what they expect of us. So, yes, you can go in there fumbling, but that's where that relationship might start to fall after that.
So, obviously, you, like myself, because you've mentioned it a few times during our chat, you're a faith-based actor.
Yes.
Tell me how your faith keeps you motivated in this game. Paint that picture for me and our audience, just what that looks like, and I'll tell you how that looks like, what that looks like for me.
For me, I look at it as everything I receive, maybe an audition, means something. Every class I'm drawn to means something. It's a reason I need to be there. So I was doing Country Wayne, and I was playing Rafi's cellmate. and Rafi kept mentioning this teacher, Leslie Kahn. He was like, yeah, I went to Leslie Kahn, this and that. And this was like over weeks, so he probably mentioned it like almost every time. And I kept hearing it, and then one day I was like, hey man, what's up with this Leslie Kahn? Can you give me the information? And then I went there for a year, and it changed my life. But those, it's like that's how it works. I be in places and hear certain things, and if I keep hearing it over and over, I like maybe I'm being drawn here. Or if I'm at a school and I start to feel stagnant
It's time to move on.
and frustrated, that's a sign within me. I always say spiritually to move on. So that's kind of how I go through things. And that, I guess they call it the Holy Spirit speaking to you, but that's it.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's hard to explain to certain people, but that's really what it is. It's like I'm listening to that voice. Like, should I go to this school? Should I check this out? If I have any feeling that I should not be there, no matter if people say this is the best school or whatever, I won't go. But that's kind of how I do it spiritually, and know that everything's going to work out. Because even when I look back through this whole journey, I was always able to pay my bills. I was always able to take care of things. If it's something I couldn't take care of, it was something I didn't really need. It was just something maybe I wanted. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what keeps me going. I look at this book I'm reading, Gains versus Gap, and they say when you live in a gain. So I live in the gains. So let's say if I didn't book something, but I look back 2 years and I look at the knowledge I have now versus then, that's the gain, regardless of the bookings. Or I look at how many bookings I had in 2023 versus 2024. I look at the gains. Now, certain things you can't get over, whether it's COVID or the strike, I can't really count that, but I can look at what was I doing outside of that. So looking at gains and spiritually moving is how it's just how I maneuver. So it's like a feeling for me. It's something I had to learn. And so even if I say it, I don't know if people can follow it, because it's really something you have to learn about yourself. Yeah, it's personal to me, how I move. Because I sat with somebody and I gave them an answer they want to hear. They was like, how are you sustaining life and just doing acting full time? I was like, God. And they looked at me like, wait, that's not, it's got to be more than that.
I mean, but even if you tell them, that plan may not be the best plan for them.
Exactly, which goes back to what we talked about earlier about quitting your 9 to 5. I think it's something has to speak to you. Don't do it, because if you choose,
it's a business.
Yeah, if you choose to do it, then you might not make it. But it's something with instill in you. I think of Taraji P. Henson when she went to LA and then she started working on Baby Boy, because I think she said she moved there with her kid and like $130 something in her pocket. I always say I don't know why she moved there, but what if God told her to move there and then He did, and then it worked out?
But that was her director line.
That was her. But that's what I'm saying. Some people will use that story, but I'm saying, well, it's got to be something deeper. That's one reason I always like to talk to actors, because some people don't tell you the whole story. They were like, oh, I was walking in Kmart. Well, actually, Kmart probably don't system, but let's say Walmart. I was walking in Walmart.
He just told his age and stuff.
I was walking in Walmart, and so-and-so saw me, and they signed me. And then you be like, okay.
They ain't did that since the 90s.
No, but that could have worked. But what they didn't tell you is probably all the struggles that led up to that. So that's why I like when people tell the stories, and they tell every single thing. Like when you hear Tyler Perry's story. What was that? What's it called? Maxine's? Was it? I think that was the documentary. Maxine's son. But he talked about how when he was traveling with the play, and I think he was supposed to go to North Carolina, and the storm hit, and he was like, God, what am I supposed to do? But
I've heard him tell the story about the car and how he had something the next day and the car got towed.
But that helps, because there's people out there going through that and be like, okay, I got to keep going. And it kind of helps you guide through something. But when people just say, oh, I was walking in Walmart and I got discovered without telling them the rest of the story, then you have people that say that and they go to acting for the wrong thing. Like, I'm just going to go to this party and they're going to see me and be like, you look like the guy we need.
No, that's
it's
not
like,
how it works.
It can't. It's funny because it might, but it's highly likely that it will happen.
It doesn't work like that.
No.
Even, I think you and we went to a networking party before and ran into a couple of very popular casting directors, and it does not work like that. The most you will get out of them is, hey, what agency you're with?
Yeah.
Have I auditioned you before? That's about it.
Exactly.
And after that, the work is you, your agent, and God.
Yes. And I think spiritually it's the best. If you just follow that path, keep your 9 to 5 or keep whatever you're doing, and don't wait by the phone for it to ring, and just do you, and then it's going to come to you. You're going to look up, and it's just going to happen for you.
And that time in between is going to seem closer and closer and closer and closer.
Yeah. You can't live in the desperate. That's what I learned. If you live in the desperate, you're going to make desperate moves.
Yeah.
If you just live in the freedom and let it be and live your life, you're going to be good.
Yeah. For me, faith is, that feeling you get, and you kind of said it, that feeling you get, you just don't have an answer or words to put into.
Yes.
Or just that excitement you get for something that hasn't come as yet, and you just know that you have to keep doing the thing that you're doing right now, or be in the place that you are right now in order to get to whatever that thing is. Mm-hmm. That's how I describe faith. I don't know when my next booking is going to come. I don't necessarily know if it's going to be this year or next year. I just know that it feels really good in between. I know something big is coming. I know the work that I put in before that booking honestly plays a big part in when that booking comes. It may not even be a booking. It may be an opportunity to sit on a paddle and have more eyes on me than a film could ever have. Who knows what it may be? I just know that I'm sitting and I'm waiting, and I'm trusting that God will align me in the best way possible for me. Not for everybody else, but for me.
And to piggyback off of that, I think a lot of people look for understanding. And what I have learned over life, you're not going to understand everything. And David said, like with God, like some people say, I don't believe, or the Bible, because I don't understand
whatever higher faith they believe in.
But I think it's about you're trying to understand. So since you're trying to understand, you're not going to get to where you need to get to. Like for me, if I did X, Y, Z, I go to all the best classes, I turn in the best audition. I go to all the best classes, I turn in all the best auditions, I'm doing X, Y, Z, best headshots, my resume looks good, blah, 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 but I'm not booking. I'm trying to understand why I'm not. But if I just sit back and be like...
But that's work, though. You're doing the work.
That's just the work. So if I just follow the path and not try to understand why I'm not booking, and I think that's how God works. Because we want to understand, like, why am I not this? Why am I not this? And sometimes, that's why they say you just need to sit back, just do the work, and let God do God. I really got that from Dion. Like, when he used to do football games with his son, and he was like, all right, we did the work. And he would tell his son, I go out there and let God do God.
I see that on the T-shirt for you.
Yeah, let God do. Because it's like, that's true. It's like, and that's how, when I do my auditions, I already put in the work.
Drop the script and move on.
Yeah, I don't need to sit here and try to perfect it and make it do this and that. Like, I already did the work. So now I turn it in and let God do God. I can't control everything.
The purpose of this podcast is to inspire and motivate actors, on this journey right along with us. Yes. And you just inspired and motivated me, Andre, by saying that. We talked before, turning on the mics, and I'm not going to say the name of the show because I'm not able to talk about it as yet. But, I spend so much time after getting off set hoping and praying that I'm called back for the next season. Mm-hmm. And, I did the work. You just said it. Do the work. You did the work, Kristen. And now let God do God. Yes. I take that. Thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So, okay, Andre, we've reached a part of the show where we like to do a little speed up.
Okay.
I like to call it rapid fire.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you 4 questions.
Okay.
Without thinking, if you are a true actor, I'm just kidding. I want your best answer.
Okay.
Okay? All right. You ready?
Yes.
Favorite actor?
Denzel Washington.
Favorite television show right now that you're binge watching?
That's not my favorite. My favorite is Law and Order SVU. What I'm binge watching right now is, what's it called? A new show with Sterling K. Brown. I can't think of the name of it because it just came out.
I think it's called, is it Paradise?
Yeah, Paradise. I couldn't remember the name of it.
I think it's called Paradise.
And I can't say binge watching because they got released the rest of the episodes.
Uh-huh. Okay. What's your favorite technique to get ready for set?
Rest.
That's it?
Yeah, that's because what I noticed about myself, I shot a commercial and I only had like 1.5 lines. I couldn't remember, but I got as much rest as I could. But I was working over a 3-day span, and even though I was there, like I just couldn't comprehend. And I knew the line, and we got it. But that's why my favorite technique I'm gonna say is rest, because I realized if I don't have proper rest, my brain stopped functioning the way I needed to function. Even if I know it, it's just like it's not firing as fast. So yeah, that's my favorite technique. Rest.
Okay. And this last one, I'm going to be a little selfish because we all need a little motivation every now and then.
Yeah.
What is a mantra or motivation that you are telling yourself each morning right now in the year of 2025 that you can share with the people?
Let it go. If somebody cut me off in traffic, or beat their horn like I'm moving too slow, I just let it go. I let everything go. If I talk to somebody and they had an attitude or something disrupts me, good or bad, I let it go. So that way I can be present. Because the reason I say let it go, because if somebody builds me up like, oh, you're doing a good job. I know you probably heard this before. They can easily say you're doing a bad job, and that could tear me down.
Yeah.
So everything that they give me, I let it go and then just keep living in the moment. So
Yeah.
that's for everything across the board.
Like water on the duck's back, let it roll off.
Yeah, so you can be present, because if somebody cuts you off in traffic, it already happened. So now you're into the next moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in the script, moment to moment. So now, you know what? That moment's over. I'm gonna move on.
That was beautiful, Andre.
Oh, thank you.
Andre, this has been an amazing conversation. Before we go, what projects are you working on right now, and where can people follow and support your journey?
Well, first I'm gonna say, check out Deadly Attraction. That's on Tubi right now. It was #1 for a minute. I haven't checked recently to see if it's still #1. Projects I'm working on, it's a TV show coming out. I can't say the name yet, but guest star recurring on that. I'm in the works to start teaching more. I can't say just yet, but once it is, I'm gonna put that on my social media, which I'll tell you in a sec, so that way you can come take classes. It'll be me and other teachers, but that's gonna be, and we're gonna give back everything. Like I said, everything we learn. And what I learned about acting is to teach things that are happening right now. Even though you're gonna get a foundation, but what's happening right now is what's happening right now, and what you need to know. Try to think if there's anything else I'm working. Oh, I could say this stuff, but I can't say what it is. I'm shooting a commercial next week, and I'm also shooting a TV show next week.
You busy.
But I can't say what that is just yet. Neither. But it's once it's all said and done, it'll be on my social media. So you can find me on everything. That's on Facebook, Instagram, at Andre Lamar. So you type in AndreLamar, and you'll find me.
To all my actors, creatives, and dreamers out there, remember your journey is your own, but you don't have to do it alone. Like Andre said, keep pushing, keep learning, and keep believing. Andre, thank you for sharing your wisdom today.
Thanks for having me.
Be certain to like, share, and subscribe, and tune in next week for an amazing episode. And remember to, let's just talk.